Hello and what's up, everyone? Today we are doing the Opus 14 Fire set review. Now, a couple of these cards we already saw, and the issue there was that Fire didn't have too many noticeable things for me, to be honest. This one's going to be a little short, I think, but we're going to do our best to... but I did do my best to grab 12 cards from the set that are Fire that I found to both be useful, playable, and... well, that'll probably see play, right? Yeah, I think that's it. We're going to go straight into this one. Remember, we are doing a set review every day for the rest of the week. And yeah, and then straight to the deck profiles. So if you aren't following, I would appreciate, I would appreciate subscribing and liking the videos. So thank you. And let's get started. First we have Ifrit, Lord of the Inferno, Amalja, and Susano, Lord of the Revel. So we already talked about Ifrit, and he's a little underwhelming compared to his chapter series counterpart, but we'll go over it again. When Ifrit, Lord of the Inferno, enters the field, choose up to 2 forwards your opponent controls, deal 4,000 damage. If a summon or ability of a character you control deals damage to a forward, that damage is increased by 1,000 instead. So when I read this the first time, it was very underwhelming, but when I read it the second time, yes, he does 5,000 technically to 2 forwards, and I think his second ability is where he shines really, right? If a summon or an ability of a character you control deals damage to a forward. So he's pretty much, I believe it's Iroha, the samurai, I want to say, and then say Tuna, the backup, mixed into one, cheaper, right? Like there's a balance there, like because Iroha's 4 and say Tuna's 6, and I don't think either of them are EX burst, so, So he fits there where that second ability is where he really shines, right? Like when you bring him out, obviously you don't drop him the turn you're going to, you don't drop him first turn, you don't drop him second turn, you drop him the turn that you were going to like wipe your opponent's board one way or another, right? Like mid to late game, right? You're gonna push, clear his board somehow. You have other cards, you have your Ifritas, you have maybe BFA on the board, I don't know. Or you even have Amaterasu's in hand, right? Ready to counter stuff on your opponent's turn. Things of that nature. So he's going to be the card that helps you get there cheaper because he's going to do a lot for you in that sense. Now, when you pair him up with Amalja, when a Primal enters, this guy activates. Choose a forward, deal it 1,000 damage. You can only use this ability if you control a Fire Primal. So right there, he's already, if you have it for now, he's going to be dealing at 2k damage actually, right? And that's already going to be a lot more, like, so imagine 5, 7, and then you have your whatever other things, like 1 Ifrita to deal 4k to the board. There's going to be a lot of like damage coming through. Next is Susano, Lord of the Revel. Haste. If a forward damaged by Susano, Lord of the Revel, is put from the field into the break zone on the same turn, remove it from the game instead. When Susano, Lord of the Revel, enters the field, select a backup you control. You may put it into the break zone. When you do so, deal 9,000 damage to all the forwards other than Susano, Lord of the Revel. So he pretty much does like AOE blast around him, and if he sends them to the break zone, right, there you get removed from play, and he has haste. So everyone has so now Fire has technically 2 Philia type of effects that are really bad. So he actually, if you have Philia out too, and then your opponent manages to recover and set up and just present that much board, do this next time too, right? And then it'll start removing stuff from play. Also, now when you have Amalja, remember it says if a forward damaged by Susano is put from the field on the same turn, right? So if the 9k doesn't do it, they're right above you. You can just Amalja him, and that'll finish him off, and that'll remove him from play. So remember, I actually enjoy him a lot more than Ifrit. They are both very good. Now, is there a deck where you put them both in your deck? Is there a deck where they both go into at the same time? Probably. Remember, they are 14, and we'll talk about him again in a little bit, but Xenos gets you 14 cards, right? So Xenos is gonna make this a lot faster. So there's that. Next we have Geomancer, Gabrantha, and Arden. Now Geomancer is an interesting one. I didn't expect another card like this, but we'll get into it. Choose a forward against this forward cannot block until the end of turn for fire and tapping, right? So it has the Yotsuyu effect, and then you can tap, or you can tap and break to choose a forward against this forward cannot block until the end of the turn, kind of like a ninja. So what's cool about it is that this card alone literally almost removes, and you can play multiple copies of this, right? So this card ultimately removes those two cards. This is like power creep up like ×2, right? Because Yotsuyu is irrelevant now, and so is Ninja. Now, I'm not saying you can't play 3 Geomancers, a Yotsuyu, and 3 Ninjas, and in one turn you're going to make 3 things unblockable. But Geomancer gives you that option to just tap and pay, so you don't have to expend your resources. But on your bigger turn plays, you're able to tap and break, make space, A, and B, just go in and use your CP elsewhere for the turn. Now, Gabranth, I put him in here because because I want to talk about like the Judge job class in the future. If he doesn't do much now, if at 5 damage, you can put Gabranth into the break zone, choose a forward. This forward cannot be broken until the end of the turn. That's okay too. For a fire card, fire really doesn't have that effect too much in its in the color pool at all. This forward cannot break comes in mostly earth stuff, right? But I think there's going to be a world where we're going to see, do you control Judge backup or like a Judge period, and if you do these effects or whatever. Like, I'm not saying the Judge deck is coming, but there might be something like that where Gabranth or Judge or whatever is necessary, kind of like how we got Noctis backups, and it just makes it easier to play Gladiolus and stuff like that. So it might get into that. Now, the effect isn't the worst, but it is late game, and in my opinion, sometimes might be unnecessary, right? Like, if you're winning, this is unnecessary, right? You probably won't get to 5 damage, but if you're losing, then you're just like, all right, I got another battle trick. When you could, in my opinion, obviously, just like play better backups to not get into that situation. But yeah, so maybe in the future he'll see some play. Right now it's a maybe just a one of, just in case, for the big things. Being as he's not multiple, you can't play multiples of him. He, more than 1 or 2 at most in your deck is just dead. Arden, when Arden enters the field, select one of the following 2 actions until the end of turn. All forwards you control gain 1,000 power and first strike, or you can choose a forward until the end of turn and gains 3,000 power and brave. So I think it's cool that that Arden, that 15 is going into another color. So we have now 15s across 4 colors, water, lightning, earth, and fire, just enough, right? And the first one, his first effect is obviously his better one in my opinion. You're ready. It's the same thing I was talking about. You're ready to go give a push in this deck, and so you're going to give everyone 1,000 power and first strike. That's like Belias to everyone, right? I don't actually think there's a card that does anything that gives first strike to everyone. So this is definitely a first for that. And so I can see this going into multiple. I'm not saying there's multiple decks that are going to be Earth Fire, but this card would be useful in that color combination for both of these effects. And he's a 2-drop for 7k, so well above the curve. Now, these are the ones we already went over, but if you missed those videos before or you didn't really hear my thoughts, we'll go over them again. They were actually also the better cards that were released. The other ones were just stuff we already knew was happening and replacing, and the monsters were meh. I didn't really enjoy either of the monsters, and I don't think I enjoyed the summon either in this from Fire. But we'll just go with these. Ilua Haste, another Ilua 1-drop. When Ilua attacks, you may duel any number of active fire backups you control. When you do so, choose a forward, deal 3,000 damage for each backup you dueled due to this ability, and Ilua gains 3,000 power for each backup due to this ability until the end of the turn. So I think she's going to be a great card to apply pressure, and then she's also going to be a great card to both zone and play controlling. Fire now has access to a 1-drop haster, which I don't think they had before. But this one's going to be more relevant, I think, because of the effect that it has. Fire's already a control deck, pretty much. And so when you drop something like this, you have the option to continue to like pop off forwards one at a time and then swing over stuff, right? Incidentally, I know its weak point is that you have to do the effect when you attack, not at resolution. So like you would have, your opponent would obviously know what they're getting themselves into instead of like trapping them, right? You would normally, when you're doing battle tricks or whatever, you would catch them in the block and then try to like survive the block, right? Or force them into playing their stuff. In this case, you have to, tap everything first, and then you're able to get your effects off. So I think she's going to be useful, and if nothing else, she'll go into Fire Lightning deck where you're playing the other Ilua and you're casting 5 shoals in one game, or 2 shoals in one turn because you have this one and a purple one. Next is Xenos, and we mentioned him earlier, but when Xenos enters the field, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck and add 2 category 14 forwards among them and add them to your hand. Put the rest cards into the break zone. When Xenos attacks, all category 14 forwards you control gain haste until the end of the turn. So back to what I was saying. Now all the primals are in 14. That's for sure. We have Scions in 14, and now we have Xenos, right? Now, Xenos is... And there's already a lot of really good 14 cards out there. I'm pretty sure Nail's 14, right? I don't play 14, so I don't know all the characters. But he's going to... I think Xenos is going to see a ton of play, mainly because we're going to be trying to fish the primals out as fast as possible. Now, which ones do I think he's going to go into? Well, so we've already seen, if you've looked at this, I know we haven't gone over everything yet, but you've probably already looked over all the cards. And I think really Fire can go into anything at this point with the amount of support it's gotten over the last couple of sets. And so, Fire Ice is already a thing. Fire Earth is never not been a thing. Like, it's just always been underwhelming, but now with the primals might be better. We talked about there would be maybe a Fire Monk coming this set. Now, Fire Water, it was a thing before. Fire Lightning is a thing currently. Fire Wind and Fire Wind has already, Fire Wind is also a thing currently, right? So Fire has already gone into all those things, and there's 14 cards now officially across all of those colors, and, he does already so much. And he has that, when all category 14 forwards you control gain haste until the end of the turn. It's busted, right? I don't know. This card is definitely something to be on the lookout for. He's gonna make a lot of decks possible, and he's gonna update a lot of decks currently. So very strong card. You'll see definitely a lot of him. And Red 13, when he enters, you may pay 1 fire. If you do so, play a forward from your hand onto the field. If it leaves the field for any reason, remove the card. Remove it from the field, from the game instead. At the end of the turn, remove it from the game anyway. So tons of big effects. If you really wanted to play a Xenos to get you there faster, you can play a Xenos for 1 and then just get his effect and let him go. If you're able to give him haste that turn also, that's a cheap way to give him, scry 5, give him haste, give your other forwards haste, stuff like that. There's endless cards. Again, we just talked about Fire can go into anything now because it's so strong. And now with a card like this, it's going to be able to let you play your boss monsters for a turn for whatever reason, right? Like a Sephiroth, discard 2, Cloud of Darkness, for 1 CP, Now, it doesn't say there is no other restriction, right? When Red 13 enters the field, you may pay on Fire. If you do so, play 1 forward from your hand onto the field. Now, I'm sure with the exception of specific card restrictions, but you can definitely play primals off of this. So if the primal is necessary for you to do other things, then I say so be it, right? Like, they can live for a turn and get away with it. If you're able to get away with whatever play you had in mind, that's what's going to happen. So very strong card. Next is Garland, Gutsko, and Barrett. We already talked about Garland and Barrett a little bit, but again, both nutty effects. If Garland is dealt damage by a summon or an ability, that damage becomes 0 instead. When a backup is put from the field into the break zone, draw a card, and then you can choose a forward, break it. Then your forward selects a backup they control, put it into the break zone. Just tons of value here, right? I told you there might be Fire Earth monks, and here's why. Just start sending the monk backups into the break zone, start drawing cards and removing forwards. And then you can choose a forward, break it, then your opponent selects a backup they control and put it in the break zone. An endless amount of value from just one card with auto protection. in a Knights deck, he's cheaper and probably stronger. And in every other deck, that as long as the back removes itself, you can draw a card, and then if you have the S, do terrible things to your opponent, right? Strong. Now Gutsko I found super interesting, and I definitely think there's a lot of value in him. When Gutsko enters the field or attacks, remove the top card of your deck from the game. When Gutsko leaves the field, add all the cards removed by Gutsko's ability to your hand. Now, because it says when he leaves when he leaves the field, that means destroyed, sent, removed, broken, go back to your hand, anything, right? So as long as he's able to do one of those, and your opponent isn't playing Amaterasu, which is his biggest handicap, unfortunately. When your biggest handicap is the biggest card, one of the biggest cards in the game, it's going to be hard to get away with stuff. But still a very strong card, right? Let's say he lives 2 turns, or he's able to come in and then attack. That's 2 cards later. He's already paying for himself. And I don't know, man. This guy, I feel like there's a possibility where he's just, you don't want to kill him because you don't want to give your opponent cards, but he's got to go at some point. But you're playing a card, I don't know, just Fanfritz, for example, or something that, lets you send him to the break zone too, and then you're going to get your plus X cards and then do crazy things. So I think he's cool that he's a thief. I don't think we have any thief searchers, unfortunately, or any 3 searchers, but he is... Oh man, I'm always going to blank on certain cards and certain things, but he is 3-drop, 7k. I can't remember her, but she deals 4k. You can summon a fire drop from her from the deck and bring him in, so that way you're already getting the effect at least once. It's a good way to filter your deck as well. Start, that's what card players do, right? You want to get out as many cards as you can, so you're drawing into the right ones. This guy just doesn't draw them or get them out necessarily, but it just gives you more cards later, but it also gets you closer to things you want. So very strong. Barrett, if Barrett is dealt damage less than his power, that damage becomes 0. I think all legendaries are getting this effect now. The Job Avalanche operative forwards other than Barrett you control gain haste. Discard a card, choose Job Avalanche operative other than carding Barrett in your break zone, and add it to your hand. You can only use this ability once per turn. So already built-in effect, built-in protection. Other Avalanche operatives you control gain haste, and then recursion. So strong card for 4. I think just the 7 stuff. We already talked about Cloud in the last one. The thing is, I think I mentioned before that we don't have a lot of Avalanche operatives. I think we get the Tifa in this one too, which I wasn't too psyched about, so I didn't bring her on either. But we have to wait for 14.5, which is in another month, I think, after the set, and we get that starter, which has more of the, more Avalanche operatives in it. Like you'll have Jesse, Wedge, and Biggs, which I'm hoping are forwards. Either way, I don't know if there's any other Avalanche operatives, really. I don't know if they're going to grab the old lady who runs the inn or runs the bar or whatever. I don't know. So we'll see. As long as they're more forwards and the haste matters, then that's cool. Now, if I have to play Hashimal and give everyone Avalanche operative forward, then it's not good for me. I don't know. So I did my best to talk about these. This one went just as long as the other one. Guys, let me know which is your favorite fire card. Did I not put it in the video? Do you not like these? Let me know what you think. I'll see you tomorrow for another one. Thank you for following and listening. Have a good day.